Good evening, everybody. Fifey here, welcoming you to another Sunday night of Super League action. Hoping everything is clear both visually and audibly. Apologies again for the delay, slight delay of kickoff tonight. Those who are aware of the situation will understand that it's not been a normal Sunday or normal week. That is for certain in Chateau Fifey. So apologies, but we are here. We are live. Macca is just having to reboot, so I am flying solo at the moment, but he will be on very shortly to offer some expert opinion and no doubt some quality banter. Just having a look at the fixtures ahead of time, we will obviously finish with the Fulchester Bostock game. Other than that, no one else has specifically asked for any time slots, so unless there is any that Mac himself wants to delay, I'm pretty happy to kick things off as they appear on the game, which means we are going to kick off with Halls versus Haggis, and it's the away side that has popped up first. A slight tweak to the Haggis team in terms of their tactical approach, but the fundamentals are all pretty much staying as they were. Vieira continues back in his favourable defensive midfield position. Shevchenko continues to play as one of two. It's normally Shevchenko plus one up top. And Cole and Duff continue. One change, I believe it was defensively, with Stam moving to left centre back and Neville joining him on the right side. We move over to Halls, as it looks like Macca is ready to join us. So we'll just give him a second to connect in while I click on the Halls team. Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm all right, thanks, mate. My Wi-Fi's having my laptop's having a wobble. It won't let itself connect to the internet, annoyingly. Even though my phone, as you can clearly see, does.
How very odd. But it's lovely to see you. Lovely to hear you. I understand, if I read correctly, you were out for dinner earlier with the other co-chairman. How was that?
Oh, that was lovely. We had the families together. It was nice Italian place, just sort of not too far from where we both live.
Okay.
It was pretty good. I mean, they were quite busy, and the service wasn't fantastic, but the food was amazing. So would definitely go again.
Good. And now you're here. I mean, I had this whole introduction for you ready, but I wasn't able to do it because you weren't on live. So if you want me to do the introduction now, or do you want me to save it for the end when I say thank you?
You do whatever you want, Fifey, mate.
No, it's for me, mate. It's all about the co-coms. This is your show. I'm just the one clicking the buttons. You haven't missed anything thus far. I've gone through the Haggis team for the first game, but I'm hoping you can see on the screen the Halls team at the moment.
I can indeed, actually.
Would you like to pass your expert opinion on to it before we head over to kick off?
Yeah, I can do. I mean, again, it's a bit odd that Jens is in the place he's in, considering the sort of strength in depth he's got. I mean, Campbell and Chirama, arguably two of the best centre-backs in the league and should be a great pairing. Kandalar and Volodenkov, again, are fantastic wing-backs. Mm-hmm. His midfield, I have a massive personal dislike of Gerrard, so I wouldn't care less if he was booted from Super League. Liverani is a bit hit and miss for me. Rivaldo is a bit hit and miss. But then Brożek and Crespo up top should be doing absolute bits. So I think the only weakness to the Hull side really is that central midfield area where, again, if you look at the rest of his squad, I'm not really sure who you'd bring in.
Well, that was going to be my next question, to be fair. Yeah, I mean, he's brought Oliveira in on loan. Kutasov's there, he's on the bench. Xavi, the experiment hasn't quite worked out. Is there anything there that you would obviously change, seeing the options available?
No, to be honest, if I was Jens, I'd probably be putting a lot of energy into thinking about who I'd try and bring in for next season, particularly in that central midfield piece. Rivaldo and C-Mac, I would be inclined to give a go, and I'd maybe try and alter the style of play so that it's perhaps more flanks based rather than central midfield based.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? It seems a bit odd that that's his weakest area, but that's where he's flooded the majority of his players.
Yeah.
So yeah, bit of a tricky one for him, really. Vitaly Kutuzov should probably get a game as well, actually.
Yeah, I mean, he's not young anymore, is he? At 23, he's definitely at a time where he'd be commanding more regular football.
Yeah, definitely. And I think he's one of those who could play. Just flick back to his stats, please. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
He could play central midfield. All right, his tackling lets him down a little bit, and maybe his marking, but pace, passing, right hand column, all pretty good. Yeah, I'd be inclined to give Kutuzov and C-Mac a go, at least in AMC, perhaps in a sort of more traditional 2-7-1 like I am playing currently. But other than that, I don't know. I mean, Jens has got maybe 5 games to have a guess and mess about. Other than that, if he's going to stick with the formation he's got currently, then he needs to start going big. And if I was him, I'd probably be looking at parting with either Crespo or Van Nistelrooy for a world-class midfielder.
And while we wait for the first set of predictions just to come through in the chat, I'll quickly click back to the Haggis team just so you can see how they lined up, and then you can offer your prediction.
It's a very, very well-balanced team, this. Gary Neville at centre-half is a good show. He does a good job. Saha is low-key decent. Rosicky at AMC is arguably the weak point. I potentially would have played Bruno there, but I know Ian's got a soft spot for Rosicky. Danielson can be a bit temperamental, but Vieira and Mendieta are absolute monsters. So all in all, I think just with the shape and everything else, my heart and head say Haggis sort of 2-0 here.
And Haggis, as you say, there's 5 games to go, including this one. They're currently 6 points off 6th place. Are we talking must-win area for them?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you're looking at they need at least 10, maybe 11 points from the remaining 5 games to even have a sniff. So, yeah, it's absolutely must-win, particularly against somebody who's not going to sniff for the top 6.
And as we as I prepare to hit kickoff, Steve Wright and Ian Edwards both gone 2-1, and Dan Megahorse both has said that you need to make sure you make those comments on TripAdvisor and then follow it up with a 2-2 draw. Let's kick off and see what happens. And it seems to be Halls that have come out quickest. Plenty of black and white text coming in, and it also seems to be the names you'd want to see. And it is Crespo who gives the home side the lead. Is the pressure getting to Haggis? They've talked a good game about making the top 6 this year, and as you suggested, it could be curtains for them if they don't win this one. Somehow I managed to talk through that 45 minutes despite not a lot happening.
Because it only lasted 7 seconds, Marky, that's why. That's yeah. Do you know what? That surprised me. That very, very limited action, although a high number of free kicks, which suggests maybe that bitty battle in midfield.
Yeah.
Is actually where the game's sort of been stagnated and squeezed a little bit. Haggis's passes completed is poor at 59%. Without trying to go into too much detail, I wonder if he's either has selected direct passing maybe. And they're playing a lot of long balls up to Shevchenko and Zaha, which again I think those two have both got pace 20 or something. So you really should be playing, particularly with the formation he's got as well, probably short or at least mixed passing on that one.
No, absolutely, and you're right there. I mean, just clicking on the players you were mentioning, Saha pace 20, Shevchenko also pace 20.
I might be reading too much into it with the stats, but I mean, I've always thought, there's a reason those stats are sort of there. So if you play a style of football or whatever that tries to set up to those stats, then it should in theory beat the algorithm, or at least give you a better chance of beating the champ algorithm.
No, absolutely, and what a lot of people have noticed, particularly as the Super League's developed, is you have to find those it's finding them little tweaks that will give you that 5% extra over the algorithm that gets the results needed. I'm leaving it on the Haggis screen for a minute because I've not seen Jens in the chat. I know he was busy earlier today and was originally scheduled to come on with you on comms but couldn't make it. So just giving Ian a second. Here we go. Bruno for
it might be a blessing in disguise that Jens isn't on, because we'd end up getting absolutely battered and not even talking about football. It'd be a 4-hour show.
You suggested prior to kickoff you might have started Bruno over Rosicky, so I'm guessing you're not surprised to see that as a substitution at halftime?
No, do you know what? I'd probably be inclined to. Well, originally I've had a forward arrow on Bruno as well, just to make sure he's sort of bombing on and whatnot. Oh, he's Sahar for Vasylyuk as well.
Yeah, I've just seen the second subs come through as well, so there's a change up top to try and alter the arrangements.
I think that makes sense. If he's sticking with the same sort of style of passing, which does look a little bit long or direct currently, and Vasylyuk's a lot stronger and whatnot than Sahar, but his heading's crap from memory, so not sure if it will pay off or not. But they need to start early second half, does Haggis.
Well, let's see how the second half does start for them. It looked fairly even opening sort of 5 or 10 minutes there, but
have you put it on slow?
No. Is it coming through slowly?
Well, they're on the 70th minute now, yeah, but just the text is looking quite slow.
No, it's definitely on very fast at the moment. I am going to I was going to slow it down, but Crespo's made it 2-0.
Yeah, I said 2-0. I just didn't say it to who.
That's all your years of experience and know-how. Shevchenko has made for a dramatic ending. Will we get an equaliser in injury time, or will Halls be able to see this one out?
I think Halls will see it out, actually. Sorry, that is the clink of a Peroni bottle you're hearing.
Throwing it in recycling.
Peroni's really not a beer to have when you are a bit hungover. It was my kid's first birthday party yesterday. I had all the family down, so naturally I did what I do best and got absolutely steaming. And some leftover Peroni in the fridge. I'm trying to take the edge off, but I had 3 glasses of wine with dinner, and I don't think I'm doing this right. I reckon I'm going to be rough as toast tomorrow.
It's fine. You're only at work, mate. This is where it matters. So Halls have seen it out and 1-2-1. It was a fairly even game. Not much to write home about, but it was certainly better from Halls than we've seen.
Yeah, and much improved from Haggis in the second half. It looks like they're just not really turned up. Like, bizarrely, despite the physical nature of the team, looked like they were missing a bit of sort of physicality in the right way in terms of winning headers and tackles. Well, yeah, good result for Jens, despite panning his team. I'd still be on the lookout for a decent central midfielder, but results like this are coming too little too late for him this season.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Possibly Crespo's best performance of the season?
Yeah, and a shout out to Brozac as well, actually, with 2 assists.
Yeah.
I do think Crespo, you should be getting a dozen goals out of him each season in Super League at least. It's kind of odd that Crespo and Van Nistelrooy hasn't quite worked for him this year. But yeah, fantastic performance from Crespo. That's exactly what you want to be seeing from him. Has he put himself in the shop window? Who knows? And
despite Halls' troubles, Sol Campbell's been consistent and generally quite good this season.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. I mean, look at his tackles there, 7.6. That's pretty high, I think. I'm not sure anybody's near that generally at centre half. I mean, I know Nicky Butt does about 104 tackles a game or whatever it is, but 7.6, I think, from memory is pretty good. Overall, can you just, the 2 blue arrows, Fivey, can you just click right? Sorry, go back to Sol Campbell stats. Yeah, do that. I'm just interested in, click right. Oh, they've lost 13, conceded 33. That's unusual. Only 3 yellows though, so he's pretty competent. He doesn't get caught out much. Maybe less tinkering next year. See how they get on.
We look over to Haggis. Bruno had virtually no effect whatsoever. But again, they've got 2 9s in their ratings as well, so it wasn't all bad for them.
No, it wasn't. Paddy V with a 9, which is unusual, and then Mike Duff flukes another 9. What an absolute myth he is. who had the assist, Ashley Cole. Oh, so the wing backs have played fairly well. But again, bizarrely toothless up top, it seems. So I don't know. Maybe the problem for Ian to address is, what is the real solution at AMC? I wonder if Jens would be interested in letting Brozek go in exchange for, a Mendieta or somebody like that, and they can solve each other's problems. Who knows?
I'm sure they're both eagerly working away, despite not knowing whatever rules will be in place for the summer.
Good point. Yes, you're going to introduce more sort of Squid Game nonsense, aren't you?
I'm refusing to say anything until at least the playoffs. That's what I keep telling people, as I get at least 2 messages a week saying, Fifey, can you just tell me, will we be able to do this? Will we be able to do that? Will there be a minimum of this? Will there be a redraft that? All I keep saying is, I'm not talking about it until the playoffs.
I'll tell you, just as a general message for everybody, I mean, I love the kind-hearted and wonderful words people send me, buttering me up before they then say, what will it take for Veron? Unequivocally, the entire league, I love you all, but fuck off with offers for Veron. It's not happening. It's not happening ever. Ever, ever, ever. The only way one of you lot manages Veron is when I quit and you get offered the Fulchester job. Simple as that.
And on that note, we move over to Leddersford v Astor, and we start with the away team. And someone who a few people who have had on co-coms, and I've seen in the comments as well, recommending as a candidate for manager of the year.
Yes, absolutely. And I would stand by that purely because look at that team on paper, and there's a couple of things you want to call out, right? That he's got a decent amount of goals out of Saviola, surprisingly. He's made Zizi Roberts look like prime George Weah. He's playing Emre and Scally in positions that their preferred foot suggests otherwise. Vaschuk is garbage. I mean, let's be honest, the vast majority of Tato's team is utter tripe. It's absolute garbage. But somehow he's got them punching well above the weight. I mean, if they were in if Super League was like Swemp and we had 2 divisions or whatever, I'd expect these boys to be mid-table in the second division, looking at that starting 11. But they are still within a shout of the playoffs with a few games left. So that is purely down to the manager, in my view.
Yeah, they're currently sat 4 points off with 5 to play. And obviously playing Leddersford, who are currently occupying, I should say, 6th place. This match is massive, really. Let's have a look at how the hosts line up. And it is another tweak to the formation, this time a 2-2-3-2-1.
AKA 2-7-1.
Well, yeah, in essence, 2-7-1. Of all the things to stand out, obviously Constantinu playing up front was interesting. Vogel centre mid on his own. He's done that earlier this season, so I wasn't too surprised. But the man
at AMC.
The man who, yes, you've spotted it. The man that Mr. Horse has basically made a Super League star since he came in, is playing, I think, his 4th or 5th different position since Mr. Horse came in as well.
Yeah, it seems a bit of a utility man. I'm just ogling his stats there, actually. What's his long shots? What's his finishing? Finishing's not bad. Creativity's not bad. Do you know what? Actually, he's probably, even though he's a defensive midfielder in terms of position, I bet you his stats-wise, he's probably not too dissimilar from a Nakata or Fiore or somebody of that ilk who plays there anyway. So it's an interesting. Sorry, I can't get my words out because they've said wine. It's an interesting decision to play Petkov there, but I think everybody calls Mega Horse Rain Man anyway, so he's obviously looked into it, and it wouldn't surprise me if Petkov scores 3 and gets 4 assists or some nonsense tonight.
So if we can just briefly talk about the Constantinu situation. So 4 starts, 2 goals. That's not a bad return, but it tells you he's not the main man. You look at, obviously, he was probably the main forward in a Dragons team that got to the final last season. But when you see that Torres doesn't even make the bench, Carew doesn't even make the bench, you've got Galletti there as well. Does it surprise you he's had the shout?
Yeah, but do you know what? There's reasons to it. Like, again, nobody probably expected me to stick with Michael Owen so much this season, but sometimes you just get a feeling or the way you're playing about a particular player. And it's one of those where if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Do you mean if Dan's got a few results and Constantine's chips him with a couple of goals, why change it? I mean, his stats are pretty good anyway. And with him and Carew, it's probably much of a muchness.
Mm-hmm.
And Torres, I can't remember how many seasons in are we now? What are Torres' stats like?
4?
Yeah, so I mean, Torres doesn't go pure prime till he's about 25, does he?
Yeah, so got a while to go till that.
He's still quite raw though, so he's not the main man yet. Although I'm trying to think, who was it? Was it Hodgie? Hodgie got absolute numbers out of him. Was it last year?
He went through a spell, didn't he, where it was him and Morientes seemingly scoring a hat-trick every week.
Yeah, there you go. I think it's that first season where he played him in the running. Hodgie did, I think. And then obviously had 11 goal contributions in 9 games, which is outstanding in this league, let's be honest. But then beyond that, I still think he probably needs a season or 2 to develop further. Wes Brown's not playing either. That's interesting.
Who, sorry?
Is that Wes Brown?
Yeah, Wes Brown on the bench, yeah.
Oh, 100%. I'd be all over Wes Brown if I had the chance.
Well, that's a conversation that I'm sure will involve Veron at some point in the not too distance. Good evening to everyone whose names I've seen appear in the last sort of 5 minutes or so. Swanee, Ryan, Gaz is here as well. Good evening, everyone. Hope you're enjoying Halloween weekend. Maka, what's your prediction for this one, please?
I've got a feeling this might be a tight game, decided with either a controversial or last minute winner. But I think Leadersford might just have too much to keep the Astor train at bay. So I'm going to go Leadersford 1-0.
I can see Duggan said score draw, please. Ian Edwards has gone 2-1 again, and Steve Wright 1-0. So a lot more backing at Leadersford than Astor early doors in the prediction. We have kicked off a yellow card nice and early from Jim Bellos. How
is Adolfo in this league? Seriously, he's fucking crap.
Was it Adolfo who was rotting away in the reserves? Ryan made a comment about him a few weeks back. So, as almost a point of principle, Tato promoted him to play him just to sort of shove it up Ryan.
Oh God! Well, he's bringing the league into disrepute. That's going to be that's a £2 fine when we meet up. Well, there we go. Petkov, the man, said he'd score.
We have got to half time, and it is the man we highlighted. You're right, that scored late in the first half. Petkov made it 1-0. Even game, but both sides quite wasteful in front of goal.
Yeah, surprisingly, not a single shot on target for Astor, despite creating more. And that headers won percentage is slightly worrying. But other than that, yeah, fairly even game. You kind of, if you taste it at the minute, you don't feel like you've done much wrong.
Well, let's have a look at
other than just having
first.
blind Girl Scouts as your forwards.
So you mentioned Astor, so we'll have a look at their stats first. Just the 1 yellow card so far. It's been average, really, hasn't it? I mean, the front men. If you look at all the attackers, really, Saviola's not getting involved. Zizi's on a 5. Then the 2 lads behind, Rayed and Adolfo, not really getting the opportunity either.
Yeah, statistically, though, they've not done too much wrong. You know, the pass completion's not too bad. It's just, yeah, you do feel like a lot of this team depend on Zizi and Yavsav to pull something out. And if them 2 boys don't turn up, then the rest of the team's hard work almost goes to waste. No. Again, I'm not really sure what you would do here. You'd maybe do Fowler for Zizi because he's on a 5.
Well, Fowler is coming on. Fowler is coming on, but it's for Adolfo.
Okay, I get that, yeah, because Fowler's left-footed, isn't he? So that makes sense. Yeah, other than that, do you know what? It's just one of them games, this, I think, where you've not done much wrong. You know, you're still in the game. It's pretty even. It's just somehow Milan Petkov's turned into prime Kaká whilst Astor just haven't really turned up going forward.
And just while you get a chance to study the Leadersford stats there, good evening, Jens, and congratulations on your win this evening. Hope you were able to switch on and see it before we moved on to this game. Again, so another side, they took their 1 chance on target. It just looks, ratings-wise, slightly better. They've had a bit more control, doesn't it?
Yeah, a lot more solid all round. Paradis is doing pretty well in midfield. Kivu's having a good game as well.
I think Kivu's very underrated. to be fair. He never gets put in the bracket of the top centre-backs, and understandably. But when you look at, what he's done this year, we were talking about Sol Campbell earlier, and Kivu's ratings aren't too dissimilar. He played a decent part in the Devils team last year that went on and won it, despite, again, not being the main centre-back. I think he's a good player, Kivu.
He is. And I always think, of the three left-sided centre-backs you signed from the Dutch league in terms of Hofland, Klompe and Kivu, where do people rank him in it? And I'd probably be inclined to always rank him at number 3, purely because he generally costs too much and has too many wobblies. But he is good. He is very, very good.
Absolutely. And while we've been talking about him, Mr. Megahorse said no changes, so we will kick off the second half. Do you expect the Fowler change to have much impact?
No.
No, none at all. This one of the things I always like about you, Mac, is how direct you are with the answer.
I just feel like this is one of them games that's never going to peter out, and great result for Dan if it happens, and you just feel sorry for Taylor at this point because he
definitely did not want to see ZZ Roberts going off with 10 minutes to go, did he?
No, especially when it's a genuine conversation of Shea Given or Neil Lennon to play in the hole.
I'm imagining it's going to be something like that.
Yeah, and bring on Lennon for Roberts. That's
what I'm anticipating seeing, yes.
That would make sense.
I mean, I'll get that prepared and wait for Tato to say we're right, but I can't honestly see much else happening there. You wouldn't bring Sammy Hippier on.
No, unless you want a big target man up top. That's always a possibility.
Oh yeah, I suppose.
I do like Henry as a player. He had a spell at Newcastle, didn't he? And didn't really set the world on fire. But I always feel like him and who's the other lads you can pick up? Dalmat and Farinos. You can always pick them 3 up pretty cheaply early on in the game, and they always do you a good job if you like a mid-table Prem side.
Absolutely. Tato, Lennon on, Emre to Fowler, and Fowler up top. Yeah, so we were right.
Bang on. Right, there you go. This isn't over with there's only 11 minutes after the game.
No, absolutely. So we'll slow it down to see what difference it has on the game with the 10 minutes to go.
Come on, the Astor. Draw does me some good here as well.
We're at that point now where every game means something to more than just the 2 managers involved in it.
Oh, it means something to about 8 managers. It's ridiculous. The only manager nothing means anything to at the minute is Sigalco FC, Ian Edwards.
It doesn't really mean much to Steve at the minute either, this game.
I don't know. Steve's still getting his Rachel Riley on and working out what happens to make the playoffs, isn't he?
Getting his Rachel Riley on, love it.
Is he saying, if somebody deletes Fulchester from the save and deletes Bostock and he can go on a 6-game 10-0 winning streak, he wins it. There you go, 1-0, called it.
You did. Your predictions are bang on. And as we look at the stats again, Astor just wasteful in front of goal in a game they really did not need to be wasteful. I can already see Tato's put in the comments, RIP to our playoff chances. That certainly hasn't helped them at all. Let's have a look at the away side. Prior to go, for those who believe that it's a sign, ZZ going down to 0% condition doesn't look great. I know some people look at that and automatically assume the worst. There were some decent range. The keepers put in a decent performance, which again, when you look, 50% of the shots were on target. I suppose maybe. Again, you're looking at the fullbacks or wing backs, and they've done okay, similar to what you commented on in the first game. But ultimately, it was the attacking phase that let Astor down today.
It's just that little bit of star quality in midfield and up top that Astor are missing that lets them down on occasions like this. Really, again, you look at it overall, and Fowler's come on and had an 8 already. Done okay. Rayad and Adolfo. Show me all the stats you want, but they're not Super League quality. They're just not. You've got to think Tato's been dealt a bad hand here. I'm not trying to throw Alf under the bus or anything like that, but seriously, what the fuck is this squad? It's utter garbage. So the fact, like I said, I'm still astounded they're even in this position to be talking about as playoff contenders with 4 games left. But it's just, I think it's a bridge too far from.
And you look at the Ledesford team, Petkov, despite his goal only getting a 7, but Vogel's one of the players I spoke about prior. He got his 8 rating and man of the match. But, his pass completion was good, not great. His tackles, he only won 1 out of 3 as well. So you're looking at that thinking, it couldn't have been a great match quality-wise for him to get man of the match, really.
Yeah, you could have quite easily picked Kivu, Ekiog, or Paradis to be man of the match, really. Mm-hmm. I think Vogel's just got it on the back of an assist and nothing much else. But yeah, very, very workmanlike performance from Dan Shirehorse.
Sorry, I'm just laughing at Jens's comment in the chat.
Well, I can't see the comments. What's he said?
He's just put, lol, what a weekend for Ian, first losing his willy, then losing to us.
Well, to be fair, Ian, if you're going to dip it everywhere, you've got to get burnt at some point, haven't you? You know what I'm saying? But it's a very, very workmanlike performance from Ledesford here, and that has probably all but tied up the playoffs, I think, to top 6. It's just the order in which the 6 finish now.
Well, one of those 6 are involved in the next game, and it's Dragons v Devils. Back in the day when it was solely me and solely Jamie, these were normally good games for entertainment, if not for top 6 positions. Obviously, that changed last year. Smut's involved now, and he's moved away from his adamancy that 4 at the back can work.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I don't recall it being a formation I've seen before.
We have seen one at the back, but maybe not with this configuration.
Sorry, that's exactly what I mean. Thanks, Harvey. Baumet and Zori pushed quite high up there. Joe Cole's a central midfielder, maybe not sure on. But that defensive midfield 3 is pretty good. Emerton is criminally underrated. He's an absolutely fantastic player on this game. I always have him as a right winger or as a right wing back, and he is a pure assist machine. Mm-hmm. But other than that, it's an interesting lineup. Kesman and Madeira up top. Not sure if they'll do the business, but
Dan Megahorse pointing out in the chat, it looks like a massive arrow pointing at his own goal.
It does, yes. Maybe that's where they're just trying to. I can't even think of anything funny. He's nailed it. That's exactly what it is. It's odd. It's like a candlestick thing, isn't it? Like a candelabra.
Again, you mentioned the fact that Joe Cole's playing in centre midfield. If you briefly scroll through the other options, would Kerr be a better option there, or would you maybe play Davids there and have Hargreaves in defensive midfield? Is
it Rox who says Kerr's like an utter abomination and a myth and a 6.1 merchant?
Yeah,
he's absolutely correct with that. Dejan Stankovic can be hit and miss as well. I would probably be. I don't know what would I do if I was in charge. I'd probably be playing. Figo would be getting some game time for sure. Like I said, I'd probably be playing Emerson right wing as well. So I don't know. The midfield wouldn't be too different. Hargreaves, I know, is a bit of a 6-point odd merchant as well. Saeed, I just don't like. That's not a racist thing. I just don't like him because he's default penalty taker when you sign him. If you don't sign penalty takers, and he's just missed too many for me in home saves. A little shitbag. Zauri. Yeah. Do you know what? It's a bit of a funny one. You can't. I don't feel like you can actually change this team formation up too much. Because if you start bringing in the likes of Jonsson and Stankovic and Kerr or whatever, then you actually probably severely weaken the team.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but the sort of sense I get when I listen to you talk about this kind of thing is you have world-class DMs, you have world-class AMs, but if you're playing someone in centre mid, unless you have maybe, well, generally who Devils have, who we'll see in a minute, Ferguson and Emerson, there's not much else that you would say is a world-class centre mid. Because so far, this is possibly the second or third team you've pulled out as saying, in terms of genuine midfield options, there's not much there.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I mean, you look at me, I know I play Veron centre mid, and everyone's like, oh, you're not getting this out of Veron, this, that, and the other. Veron, for me, still averaging 7-point odd, and I'm still winning games. Do you know what I mean? I think I'm on course for my best ever league finish, as things stand. So obviously he's doing something right. But yeah, it's a funny one that the game itself doesn't really have out and out world class central midfielders. It's always either a defensive midfielder that you shove up a few yards, or an attacking midfielder you drop back. Excuse me, sorry, Peroni's dead gassy. Yeah, I mean, what would I do here?
Well,
I'd be inclined. I'd probably play David centre midfield. Actually, David's alongside Cole, maybe.
Okay.
I don't feel like Joe Cole's got the ability to play central midfield on his own. But again, I'm sure somebody with CM Scout knowledge will correct me wrong.
What's interesting is, and it's something that got pulled up a lot last year when obviously I was at Devils, is on this save, Dragons haven't got a result against Devils. Now, with that in mind, when you see Nesta suspended, Montero suspended, Kuehl injured, Amar tired, is this the best chance they're going to get?
Absolutely. However, they've still got Mpenza.
They have, and obviously we have seen Dragons only playing one at the back.
Yeah, Tobias Grant can probably pull up a deck chair at AMC and still have a great game. This game, I think, is all going to come down to 2 or 3 players. I think it's going to be Dyer, Ferguson, and Mpenza, which is probably a very obvious take. But I think those 3 will just run riot against this team, particularly one at the back. Like Mido's a lazy fat fuck anyway, but if he occupies the one centre half Dragons have got, then Mpenza's going to score 3 or 4. I think I tried playing one at the back against you once with Mpenza, and I got mullered like 4-0 or something.
I didn't wish to bring those sorts of things up. I don't like to upset co-commentators. But at risk of upsetting Duggan anymore, who's retracted his message telling us basically to hurry the fuck up, let's go to kickoff.
All right, Duggan, all right. Wow, what time are we on? Oh shit, it's 10 to 10.
10 to 10. He's half term's finished now. He's back at work tomorrow.
So am I.
What's your prediction for this one?
Devils 4-0.
Devils 4-0. We won't wait for anyone else in the chat because Duggan wants to.
No, fuck them. Get a move on. That's a shame. That. Do you know what I mean? I was eyeing Duggan up to potentially take over from me if I ever jacked in. There's a sort of Moyes to Ferguson type deal, but he might have just blown it now with that attitude.
It's as if he doesn't like hearing you talk about different people's midfield options and how good Veron's been for you. Have you maybe turned him down on one or two advances for said player?
No, that'd be telling. I'm a gentleman. Anyone who has DM'd me, I will not divulge. But I think everyone knows. I mean, Greasy's even DMing the Swent boys for players. That's how rampant he is.
We've got to half-time. It's 0-0. And to be fair to Dragons,
they're well in it.
They're very much in it.
What is this nonsense?
Well,
this don't make sense.
Let's start with them and where it's going right. And it's Lucio is obviously having a very good game on his own at the back. And the man that you picked out as someone you don't like, Saeed's obviously having a decent first half.
Yeah, but look at Brett Emerson, Bomer, and Zoe. Them 3 are doing fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's it. Brett Emerson is an absolute monster. Not much else to say really. It looks like they're defending quite well, quite happy to soak up the pressure and do what they can. Again, Dragons are probably hoping to nick this with a quick goal. In terms of any changes, maybe Figo for back just because he's on a yellow card, or Nikolai for Kesman potentially. But other than that, you'd be tempted to stick as is.
Smuts, because he's claimed a draw at half-time, is already referring to himself as a tactical genius. I know Hodgie said not to wait for him for any subs because he wasn't at home ready to start. I've not seen him in the chat either, so we'll just very briefly look at the squad so we can carry on. But would you be making any changes looking at this and seeing the stats as well?
I'm not really sure what you can do there. Soroczynski's not having somehow only completed 1 pass yet. He's on a 7, which is a bit odd. Van Bronckhorst, Dyer, I don't know. I wouldn't change anything there. But maybe Ventila for Mido.
Yeah, they've all, most of this 11 have got a track record to say, even if they've not been great first half, you'd expect them to do something second half.
Yeah, they're not out of it. I'd probably stay as it. Both teams, I'd probably stay as is actually. All I said, or maybe Figo for back.
Kesman, the change you said, Kesman for Nikolai, has happened at half time. So we will kick off the second half and see how that changes things. And it was Mido with the first chance of the half, but he's missed. couple of yellow cards given out there. Seeing Kieran Dyer's name popping up a little bit, but Back's name is certainly come up 2 or 3 times there as well. David's getting a yellow, and it's 1-0, and it's Tobias Gran. Who was he not the one? And wow, the minutes just flew by.
Yeah, that's just bloody hell.
And it is Back who's equalised on 87 minutes. Frey never even saw it. And could Dragons be on for a late winner?
Well,
Nikolai
I hope so, because...
is saved, and they got a corner, and it's a full-time whistle. Dragons still not able to get a win against the Devils, but they were very much the better side.
Oh yeah, that surprised me, that from Devils, even with their injuries. I thought Dyer, Ferguson, and Penza would have a bit more of a role to play.
Well, let's see how those 3 in particular did. Dyer ending on an 8, Ferguson 7, and Penza 7. It wasn't great from Devils, especially what Hodgie's been pulling out in more recent times. I know that a lot of people said it was a slow start, but they certainly improved of late. This isn't as good as they've been in recent weeks, but it was enough to get a point away from home.
Yeah, and again, that doesn't do them any harm, particularly with Ledisford winning as well. So a point's not a bad result, really. I think there's kind of no pressure on them, given Ledisford have beat the nearest playoff rivals in Astor tonight. So yeah, if you're Hodgie, you probably go, yeah, fine, whatever, move on.
And the Man U gave the big build up to Brett Emerton getting man of the match.
Absolutely, very much interested in Big Brett, monster of a player.
Well, expect much straight in your DMs, Emerton for Veron. Every player you say you like, they're only going to want Veron.
Yeah, and the same 2 words will be responded with every time.
But
Nikolai's had a good impact there. Look at that.
Yeah.
Passes wise, anyway. I mean, he's not one header or anything, but he had an assist.
Well, to be fair, just as you say that, Smuts' comment, bad sub from me, should have put Back up top. There you go.
So I'd have had Figo for about 1. Anyway, no, not a bad result. Good result for Dragons. That proves they've moved in the right direction a little bit. And again, not turning off Hodgie. Hodgie probably won't give a shit. Right, here we go. Northern Burn Sigalco FC.
Yeah, they travel to Locomotive Boston. Roy Keane suffering his 28th suspension of the season, and Thierry Henry injured sees Chunso coming for Henry and Fiore coming for Keane. Other than that,
low key, I think that's actually a big blow for Ian. I know I'm second piss saying Sigalco FC, but Henry's been pretty good this year in my view. He's been involved in a lot, and Keane, Keane's an absolute menace. I still think they'll. Well, I don't know. It depends what Greaves he's served up. Is he not doing something absurd like playing 5-4 non-1 or something?
Well, we'll get to Loco in a second. Just on the subject of Roy Keane, we saw in the news, was it 2 game weeks ago, Northern Burn, I think, were the first team during this save to get a fine imposed by the FA, mainly because of Roy Keane's discipline, never mind the team's discipline. 11 yellows and 3 reds this season already.
Well, do you know what I mean? That just speaks volumes about Ian's player instructions on Roy Keane. Do you know, tackling is, easy, medium, hard, Keane. Hang on, why is he bench Cannavaro? Oh, he's not fit. Oh, that's one. Yeah. It's still a very wonderfully well balanced team, isn't it, of Ian's?
Oh yeah, I mean it's certainly up there with the likes of Devils, where no matter what the 11 is, you generally think it looks strong.
Yeah, Chunsu, yeah, I mean he's a bit of a moody bastard. I'd have maybe played Nakata there or Robbie Keane, but other than that, yeah, they should at least give Loco a game tonight. Although I wouldn't mind a Loco win if I'm honest, just for selfishly eyeing first place. Right, what's he done?
Well, Loco have gone for what they're calling the mid press this time.
I'm not sure. Well, will this work? Scholes, Guerrero, Montella. I mean, that bank of 4 in the DMC position is class, and Klompy and Lowson can be, pretty good. Donati, I let him go on long because I didn't think he could cut it, but obviously Greasy's got him doing some bits. But this should be a very interesting game, actually. I'm surprised Greavesy served up that formation. Is it attacking enough to get at Ian? Possibly. It should be a pretty good match. So I'm going to go for a Desmond. I'm going to go 2-2. There's not one particular standout player I'd put in Loco's team as a big threat, maybe Montella, but that'd be about it.
Okay, well, let's kick this one off then and see if they can get at Burn, who, I think that was Montella picking up a yellow card very early then, a bicycle kick attempted. Loco had a couple of chances there, but Burn seemed to have taken the ascendancy again as we go through the first 20 minutes. Again, there's kind of having 5-10 minute spells each, because there's now plenty of pink and white again. I've seen Donati's name a few times, and now we're seeing Robin, Totti, Scalco. Another yellow card game. There's a couple of yellow cards given out in the first half in this one. Chance on the stroke of half time, not taken. Even first half, and again, two teams who are normally a bit more clinical than that.
Yeah, very similar to the Astor game from slightly earlier. There's not much to pick between the two of them. Probably a bit of a nuggety battle in midfield. I mean, Greaves relishes this, doesn't he? Taking on arguably better teams or supposedly better teams and trying to nullify them and shithouse them. So I think Greaves will probably be happy with the way the game's gone so far.
No, absolutely. Macca, if you don't mind, because I trust you to do this, I've just got to go and actually put my son to bed. So can you just talk about Loco and leave me to it for 1 second?
Yeah, no worries. So Loco, if you click on their future transfers page on their own club homepage, you actually have to scroll down for a minimum of 3 minutes, given how many future transfers there are lined up. Overall, stats-wise, nothing spectacular. Emmanuel Petit's having a good game. Collision's having an all right game. Scholes and Guerrero probably need to step up a little bit. Montella's been a touch quiet, which is unusual, but I'm not sure. I don't think I'd change anything here if I was Greavesy, personally. Clompe's done all right as well, actually. Barthez has had not much to do. I mean, would you maybe bring Zidane on for Scholes? Possibly, I'm not sure. But other than that, yeah, I think decent half from Loco.
That was very professional.
To shift those
hear
people.
Everything you were saying.
Could you?
No, I kept you on loud so I could hear everything. Let's have a quick flick over to Northern Burn and see if you've got just as much to say about them.
Do you know, I've got 3 words to say. Maxim Sigalko 6. Fucking love to see it. Go on, have a quiet game. Go back to behind the Berlin Wall, you absolute shitbag. Do you know what? Do you know what? In all seriousness, very unburn like this. Actually, they don't really. Looking at these past stats and stuff now, they don't actually seem as in the game as the stats suggest.
Mm-hmm.
You would probably back Loco to win from here, based off the numbers, but you never know with Burn, do you? You never know. I would probably, if I was going to do anything, I'd probably bring Lundberg on for Chunsu.
Well, Ian's not normally one for making changes, to be fair to him, and I've not seen Greavesy. We'll give him 30 more seconds before we kick off just to make sure, but I don't believe either side will be making changes here. In fact, no, there's Ian, just as I say that, saying as is. So let's kick off the second half and see if anything more interesting is to happen. Ryan pointing out 0-0 half-time is happening more and more these days. And we have an injury with the manager not appearing here. So would you be inclined, or which way inclined would you be to make this sub on his behalf, Macca?
I think Lusenhoff is a sweeper / DMC, is he? Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go. So you're probably going like for like here, aren't you?
I would say so. I'm just checking back just to make sure he's not been in the comments anywhere. So he might be watching in the background, but I definitely don't think I've seen him. No. Let's go with your suggestion then and kick off the second half. 10 minutes into it already. Kluzhny being out like that's going to offer Burn a slightly bigger advantage, you would argue. Although it still seems to be the home team, and it is Lucenov. It's the substitute who scored. And
cheers, Bridget. Thank you, Lester.
And we'll slow it down to see if they can hold on to this. Steve's saying he's not surprised after his exploits in Grimsby yesterday. which from what I understand was a quality night and day out for those who were able to make it. So hopefully there'll be a few more Super League get-togethers in the coming months.
Yeah, I'm glad a few of the boys got together. Like I said, it was my son's first birthday, so I wasn't going to miss that. But yeah, I'm glad a few of the lads got together. Didn't know how tall Dimble was. It's always nice to learn a new fact.
Yeah, he does look particularly tall in the pictures that were passed around. And while talking about that,
What's the result?
Loco beating Burn. Ian did say earlier, I think, I can't remember if it was in the chat or actually on the live chat on here, that he was nervous given the couple of people that were missing. But Loco certainly deserved it. They were more clinical in the second half, took the chance, and got a massive 3 points for them.
Yeah, very good value for the win there, I feel. They deserve that. Classic Greavesy 1-0. Look at that. All these fucking defenders, and DMC is getting good ratings, and his forwards doing naff all. And classic Greaves.
And Petit, one of those players who always seems to have done well for Greavesy, but again, not one that automatically gets the plaudits maybe he deserves.
No, I think you're spot on with that, actually. He's been very, very consistent for Greavesy. Not always the first name you think of when you look at DMC, but his stats, even at 33, are pretty impressive. Other than that, yeah, if you Greavesy, you're probably going, yep, job well done, set up to contain Burn and maybe hit on the counter, and he's done that brilliantly.
And when you see all the defensive players getting 8s and the 9, are you hoping to get your Halloween treat of a Sigalco 6?
Yes.
Yes.
Brilliant. Morale low, send potatoes to the home. Fuck off. Right. Oh, Walter Samwell, though, he's been kept busy. He's had a bit of a monstrous game, actually. Totti putting 10 tackles in and only winning 5. Jeremy's, that's a bad one, isn't it? 16 tackles attempted, 6-1. Sigalco not heading anything, probably because his back's sore from carrying the team all year. Do you know what? Actually, if I was Ian there, I'd be a little bit peeved because your team generally hasn't done anything wrong. And again, in all seriousness, Sigalco's probably just had, I don't know, 2 players marking him or whatever it might be, so he's been kept out of the game. Again, not a terminal result. I don't think anyone, even depending what happens with me and Scott tonight, can overtake Ian. So overall, again, not the end of the world. Ian probably only needs another 4 to 6 points max to definitely secure first. So no dramas, move on.
Ultimately, results like this will happen. Burn cannot win every game, no matter how strong their team is.
Yeah, exactly. He's done the bulk of the hard work, getting to 40 points anyway. So to be honest, the next few games probably don't really matter too much.
Let's have a look at things.
It mattered more to Loco than it did Burn, that for sure.
Let's have a look at things the other end of the table as we go to Churchtown v Dudley. And Dudley have had something of a mini revival, winning 3 of their last 5, only losing 2 of their last 7. But it's certainly been better of late, hasn't it?
It has been a lot better. Although Steve needs to ask himself why it takes him 17 games to get going in Super League each season. I think, do you know what, actually, the signing of Chris Perry has been a bit of a revelation. That's helped him shore up a little bit at the back.
He's already made more. Well, obviously, he made 0 appearances at all for Leddersford and is already averaging over a 7 at Dudley from his 7 appearances.
Yeah, he's been a good signing from him, and his stats aren't actually that bad. That midfield 4, Finnan, Tomasi, Tudor, and Zanoni should give plenty of protection. Van Bommel advancing on, I'm not too sure about. Although on a home save recently,
he's come in for this game.
Van Bommel played him AMC.
He's come in for this game because it was Seedorf previously, but Van Bommel's in specifically for this one.
Interesting. Then Amoroso at AMC is another interesting call. Kaká can be all right. I mean, that bench is pretty strong.
Talk about Luca Toni, and once he was given regular football, he's already on 9 goals for the season. It's not a bad return for a team who were bottom for essentially most of the campaign.
No, spot on, Fiver. I mean, 12 goal involvements in 15 appearances, including subs. I mean, that's pretty good. He's definitely capable of leading a line, particularly in Super League. I think should Steve stick with him next year, he's more than capable of getting sort of 10, 15 goals. It's just a case of, can the supply line be either enhanced or tweaked slightly to make sure he gets more and more chances, because he is a deadly finisher. And I'm glad Mendonca's been dropped, because he's shit.
And this is Churchtown's tactic for this game, altered again slightly. I'm trying to remember the names that came in, but it was a new tactic, so there was a couple of changes. But everyone's favourite Panucci, who went for big money in the draft, is back in the team at the moment. Terry and Vialli playing at centre back, Davis and Meal playing midfield, and then you've got the very attacking trio. Essentially, considering Dimble has always professed to be quite defensive since he come into the Super League, he's essentially playing with 4 strikers, isn't he?
Yeah, pretty much, and it looks quite open, this formation, like it's very attackable. So, be interesting to see what happens. I think I'm actually going to back Dudley Hill for this game. I just feel like Churchtown are a little bit too open, and the fact Riquelme is not playing either is a bit of a shock to me. I know Riquelme doesn't float everybody's boat, but I got decent numbers out of him when I did Hull/Parma for a season. So I don't know. I'd have played Riquelme, maybe had a bit more balance, dropped out there, but back position wise, and played Riquelme. But other than that, yeah, they just look a bit too open for me, Churchtown. So I'll go with Dudley for this one.
I might be very wrong because I was looking at their stats before we went live, but I'm sure this is the second time we've seen Jim Bellos refereeing a game tonight.
I haven't paid any attention to the refs, but I will always complain about them. It could be.
Elbear has scored on 15 minutes, but it's been disallowed.
Disallowed. Thank goodness. No need to wipe the egg off my face.
There you go.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Do you know what? I just remember, obviously, growing up in the 90s and that, and being a United fan, I just remember Elber playing for... Did he play for Bayern Munich?
Yeah.
Yeah, just always fucking scoring against United in that silly second group stage around the turn of the century. I was just like, who is this guy? What is this? How's this worked? Honestly, I'll never understand this game. How has this worked?
Well, Rossini did score just before half-time to make it 2-0. We haven't had a 0-0 at half-time. We've had two teams who have been relatively efficient in front of goal. Every shot they've had has been on target, and we've seen the ball hit the net. We're not used to talking about this so far tonight.
No, and do you know what? We probably shouldn't spend much time either, because it will just reiterate the fact that I was completely wrong about this game. So, well done, Churchtown. Steve, I don't think it's your fault. I think the game's just having a wobbly.
Well,
I don't know, how the fuck is Hakan Mild getting an 8 when he's literally he's got a worse pass completion rate than Fred? I mean, yeah, he's won 4 tackles or whatever, and Sean Davis has been a bit of a nuisance, but other than that, like, Christ almighty. Honestly, this game's fucked. You and Ryan are tampering with a cord or something in the background for entertainment.
Well, I'd love to say that was true, but as you know as well as anyone, it took Ryan best part of a day to get me to be able to do anything from an administrative point of view, and it took Duggan a good couple of hours to teach me how to even get this to stream onto YouTube. So anything that involves coding, I would have to ask my lad, because at least they teach it in schools now.
Do they? Well, that's good.
Dimble saying keepers is. Let's offer it over to Steve. Pelazzoli having a decent game despite conceding his 2, but apart from that, I mean, Chris Perry, the pick of the defenders still, as you suggested beforehand, but you look at the likes of Luca Toni and Kaká, just not really having the impact that Steve needs, are they?
No, and again, you just think like, well, aside from maybe Seedorf for Van Bommel or Kaká, there isn't really much you'd want to change. I genuinely consider Paulo Negro for Steve Finnan, actually, because I think Paulo Negro is left-footed. But other than that, you just feel like, well, he's either footed or same as Finnan, then don't matter. Other than that, you just don't feel like Steve's actually done much wrong. They've just not had much of the ball.
I think Steel tell you that whenever they play network saves, etc., Dimble does tend to beat him, regardless of what he does.
Or maybe, I don't know, maybe Mr. Dimblair's got some sort of hoodoo over him then.
Olasadabe for Kaka, please, mate, and swap with Tony. So Luca Toni, who's scoring goals, is being moved back into AM, and the man who I've referred to on more than one occasion as the worst signing of Super League history is being put up front in his place. Even Tato's questioning it, Steve. But that's what you've asked for, so that's what you're getting.
Fair enough. I mean, that's a interesting substitution.
Let's see if that has the effect that Steve needs. Not so far, it would appear. Duggan with the mind blown emoji. Steve's not getting much love for this change. We have an injury. Sean Davis has picked it up. I mean, there's two choices. You would imagine Mendes de Silva is the obvious one for Dimble, but would he want to go brave and put Mild back and put Raquelme into midfield?
No, I think Mild's job in midfield. I think Mild's job in midfield is not even to pass; it's just to tackle. So I would probably do Mendes de Silva if I was trying to get into the mind of Mr. Dimblair.
Well, the giant of a man has agreed and gone MDS coming on, so that is what we'll do as we approach the hour mark. If Dudley are to get back in this, they need to do it quickly. That we are seeing a bit more blue and yellow, and it is Amoroso who pulls one back. Will we get a second? 15 minutes to go now, and another yellow card handed out.
It just proves that I say all these confident things before the game as if I know what I'm on about, and then the game just goes like, nah, fuck off, Macca, I'm just going to show you up. So on that note, Bostock are going to beat me 8-0.
And another yellow card handed out. Churchtown get the free kick, coming forward looking to wrap the game up, but they've still not put it to bed, and as the cliche says, 2-1 is the worst score in football, so here come Dudley again. More chances, but they just can't get the ball over the line. We're in for a tense conclusion to this game. Still not even.
No, I think Churchtown will see it out.
You say that as Steve Finnan misses the chance.
Because it's Steve Finnan.
And Finnan with a spectacular drive. Why is Luca Toni not shooting? Why is he giving the ball to Steve Finnan? That's pure petulance on his part because he got moved into AM, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's like, oh, fine, you don't want me to shoot. It is full-time. Churchtown have seen it out. Dudley might consider themselves unfortunate not to have got a point there.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I feel like Dudley have had the better of the second half.
Oh, without question.
Looking at those set of stats. So, do you know what? Again, this is one of those where it's not the end of the world for Steve. He didn't really have anything to play for anyway.
Well, I believe these two, I could be wrong, but are these two not level, like one position apart in the table going into this game, in the race to not finish bottom?
I've no idea, Steve. To be honest with you, I don't look outside of the playoffs. As arrogant as that may sound, I look up, and I only look up, never down.
Tomasi doing Tomasi things, getting his 9 rating. Luca Toni's, he upped it to a 7, I suppose. But again, we saw his name, but he just wasn't shooting. He was doing a lot of passing. Having a look at the home side, Santa Cruz getting man of the match, despite not being one of those attackers that scored. And again, do you know what? I think if you think about what you said about Tato and the Astor team, I think it's quite similar about Churchtown. He's not exactly inherited the best squad in the league, is he?
No, not really. And it does worry me a bit. I can't get the words out. It does worry me a little bit. All these savvy managers taking over shit teams and doing all right. I mean, what happens if they do a Hodgie and just jump to the title winners? Like, basically, what this one's for Thiago, doing a LeBron and trying to just jump super teams everywhere. They might start doing bits. So can you all just stay with shit teams, please?
Well, congratulations to Dimble and commiserations, Steve. We've got one more before you, I believe. Yes, let's go to Gazelles versus Sloths.
The heir apparent.
Indeed. And this is what the heir apparent has gone with. A slight tweak again. Gazelles versus Sloths proper is the tactic name. I think for Gazelles, it's a lot about the free in the DM areas. That's where most of the quality comes from, and then it's whether their Brazilian sensation up top can add to his 5 goals already this season.
You know what, I'm gonna shut Duggan, Dimble, and Tato all in that bracket of lads who were unfortunate enough to take over wank sides and
so?
are still doing an okay job. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Because
Seasons
I know
1 and 2 of this iteration of the Super League, seasons 1 and 2, Gazelles were always tipped to not only win it but finish in the top 2.
Yeah, but they never did. They always finished like 6th or 7th.
But was that not a reflection of the previous management more than their squad?
A bit harsh on Craig, maybe, but no, I'm saying maybe the squad flattered to deceive. Maybe we looked at 3 or 4 star names and thought they were the bee's knees, when in actuality they were maybe quite weak and had no squad depth. And maybe Duggan's paying the price for some of that. So, I think maybe it's time to use a bit of hindsight and say, well, maybe Craig just had a decent attack of, what do you have, Rowe, Cliver and Figo at one point. He had those 3 boys that were bailing him out of games all the time, but the rest of his squad was gash. And then obviously Duggan's got a 2 or 3 season rebuild potentially, and he's had to ship out some big names to try and get some other areas of strength in. It's not an easy job. I'm saying this, that Gazelles used to always beat me just because he had that fantastic 3 up top, but you look at that, Pinardi, Gallardo, wank, Gerrard, Zay Elias, yeah, they're all right. Guillaume, he's not a world class centre forward, is he? Like, there's probably you look at it, and I'll tell you what, like, obviously Duggan wants to break into the top 6 and whatnot, yeah. But there's maybe 2-3 players tops that the other top 6 sides would take off him, which probably shows actually how far off he is at the minute.
Okay.
So again, kudos to the newer boys coming in, taking over some of the less fancied sides or whatever, and going from there. And then, speaking of, to be honest, the biggest miracle worker of them all is Mr. Super League veteran Rob, the sloth chef himself. Because don't get me wrong, I like Rob. I like him as a person. I'd love to go on a mad weekend bender in Amsterdam with him. But his team pisses me off so much.
Every single week.
I fucking hate them with a passion because the shit. Christian Poulsen, is that Matty Holland or Jon Inge Hoyland? It's Matty Holland. Do you mean fucking garbage? Dean Richards, garbage. He's not even alive. Johnny Woodgate, made of glass. Albertini, like Mansoras Vieira, he's fucking shit. It's all shit. Yet somehow he's got them basically being the fucking London Symphony Orchestra of the bloody Super League. It's infuriating. I don't know how he does it. It really, honestly, it genuinely keeps me awake at night. And Rob and Michael Barrymore live in my head rent free because of this fucking team.
Well, that's as good as a review of the team as I've heard from anybody this season. So I'm not going to ask any follow-up questions to that and go straight to kickoff if it's all the same to you. What's your score?
Yeah, please do. I need therapy. I genuinely need therapy. I fucking hate sloths. The team, not Rob. Like I said, I love Rob. I just hate his team.
So I presume with everything you've said, then you're going to back Sloths to win.
Yeah, Sloths 3-1.
3-1. If we could have some predictions in the chat, please, as we hit kickoff. Macca has gone 3-1 to the away side. Gazelle's looking to attack early and maybe score an early goal here. Had a couple of chances.
Gazelle's winning would be nice though.
Well, they're another team who need to keep winning to stand any chance of top 6, don't they?
Yeah, how far are they off the playoffs? Is it 6 points?
I can't click league table now because it'll have all the other scores. But
we'll find out later on.
For what, the 3rd or 4th time this season, Zé Roberto's gone off injured as well.
Ricardinho.
That's huge for everyone else because we know how much the Sloths game revolves around him playing.
Yeah, Christian Vieira will finish on a 6 now because he's not got his only person passing to him that he passes. For me, it's got to be Ricardinho here. I don't think you've many other options, but we'll see what Rob says.
I would be inclined to agree. Jens has picked up on one of the things I was going to ask you, but for that quality rant you did. Poulsen playing in defensive midfield and Holland playing right wing back. Would you not have had it the other way round potentially?
Yeah, I definitely would, considering Christian Poulsen, when he plays at right wing back,
Scores a hat-trick.
stares down some of the best left wingers of all time and just goes, "Do you know what? I'm having an hat-trick today, lads," and just does what he wants.
Well, it is Ricardinho, as was suggested, so we carry on with the first half now.
In fact, I'm pretty sure Rob only plays Poulsen just to keep causing him mental anguish. Like he doesn't even know who he is. Like he couldn't point him out of a lineup. But he just picks him because he's like, I remember when he, did more damage to Giggsy than Giggsy's done to marital arrangements.
I love how deep-rooted and in-depth your loathing is for all things Sloths related. Entertainment value was there in that first half, just a lack of goals, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, well, what else can you really say? Passes completed is quite high, actually. Good quality. If there is such a thing in Super League, I think that's a good quality 0-0 at half time. Obviously, you're not going to get too much explicit entertainment in terms of goals, but overall, both teams, I would be very happy with how that's gone.
Just reading through some of the comments, Ryan going, Sloths will fall apart again. Steve saying, Zé Roberto's...
Was that a Joy Division song?
I think what Steve's actually saying there is Zé Roberto starting to look a bit injury prone instead of staring to look a bit injury prone. And Duggan's felt like they created loads there. Ryan, Zé Roberto doing his usual in the playoffs around the corner.
Duggan plays a good brand of football. Let's have it right.
Well, yeah, I mean, I couldn't argue with it. Generally, he's very much in games. There's not many games where he's creating not a lot, is there?
No, and I think Zé Elias has got a 5 because he's nothing to do.
Quite possibly. Although, where do you stand on the Raul debate? Because again, he doesn't look to have been overly involved there. And he's a player of his stature and ratings should be producing more, should he not?
He should be. Well, I think of it this way, right? Like, do you want him to be heavily involved with your style of play, or do you want him to just produce the big moments when it matters? Because whether this is rose-tinted glasses or what, but I've just got this sort of memory of Raul for Bolton Phoenix just maybe not doing much in games, but then popping up with a goal when it really, really mattered. And that's why, people tend to have Raul in their team, because he'll do something big or momentous when it's really needed. So again, from that point of view, you kind of like, yeah, that's fine.
Right, I just want to make sure I get this right. So Wellens is coming on and playing attacking midfield. Raul's going up top, and then Smertin is coming on for Zé Elias. Just like that.
That's interesting.
Well, yeah, I mean, I appreciate he has got a 5, but like you say, is it because he's had little to do?
I think he's had nothing to do.
But that is the changes that has been requested. Let's have a look at the Sloth side to see what they are. Again, it's not been awful by their standards. You haven't got anyone below a 7 in the ratings. Keeper's getting a 9 for the saves he's putting in. I mean, this is only going to feed into your anguish watching them.
Yeah, because again, they just don't deserve it. They're all morally reprehensible human beings. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I'd like to try them all for war crimes in Pakistan. Just awful people. Do you know what I mean, dude?
And they're bringing on Super League legend Ebby Sand at half.
He's not a Super League legend. You're right. Let's nip this in the bud here, right? Ebby Sandy's not a Super League legend.
Okay, let me try this again. Shit. Let's try this again. They're bringing on Super League one season wonder Ebby Sand.
Correct.
Is that better?
Yes, it is. Because let's just remember when I took charge of Parma and everyone was like, "Oh, I can't believe you showed the best player in Nicky Ferenko." I couldn't give a shit. Got to the final, mate.
Can I ask, whose accent are you interpreting there?
Generic Yorkshire accent.
That's quality. I love having you on, Mac. You have me in stitches from start to finish.
No, because the problem is, Fife, you're right. I start off all well-intentioned, giving all these, like, trying to be an expert analyst and all that shit. But then 3 or 4 Peroni in, I just start going, sounding like Father Jack from Father Ted or whatever.
Ebby Sand has scored, but it's been disallowed. And
Good.
Gerard's gone straight up the other end, scored. And
I hope his life gets disallowed.
And then a shitload of time went past. We're into the final 5 before injury time. The keeper was off his line, but Gazelles failed to capitalise. But they're coming forward again, looking for a second that will kill the game off. But Sloths on the counter have equalised, and it's Rui Costa.
See what I mean? This is why nobody fucking likes him.
Here come Gazelles again.
Absolute fucking shitos with that. just fuck. Honestly, they're like an annoying neighbour who like doesn't keep the garden tidy or never puts the bins out on time. All that they're just. And
Rahul scored in injury time. From 20 yards out, surely the winning goal for Gazelles. And it is full time. Gazelles have won. And Macca can go home a happy boy. He's disappeared. I mean, none of you can see this, but he's disappeared off the screen into the background celebrating Rahul's injury time winner. It was a deserved winner when you look at that. Now Macca's managed to return to the call.
It was. And what did I say about Rahul producing big moments when you need it? Just when Rahul's last-minute goal there is the equivalent of calling the cops on the pikeys and not getting caught. Absolutely fantastic moment for Super League. Wonderful, the right brand of football being played by a good man and a good manager. And, like I said, a massive heir apparent to the C-suite. This is what you want to see. I'm not even asked about my result now. This has made my evening.
And they say managers are paid the big bucks to make the big decisions. Smerton and Wellings definitely came on and made an impact. They're 2 of the better used subs not just tonight, but in recent shows that I've done. Because normally the subs haven't been making the impacts required.
They're not, but I tell you what, I know Richie Wellings is coming for a bit of stick from the rest of Super League and whatnot, but look at those passing statistics. He's had an assist, he's had an 8. His passing creativity and all that stuff, I think, is all very, very high. He's a great little player, and I think Duggan's done a terrific job integrating him into his side and getting a good tune out of him this year. So fantastic result, well played, Duggan. Keeps your playoff dreams alive. Hopefully you can get crash later on.
And as for Sloth, she said Vieri would suffer with Zé Roberto going off injured. He's still got a 7, but it wasn't, again, to his usual standards because the supply line was definitely cut short.
Yeah, absolutely. Ebbe Sand surprised me. He's obviously fueled by spite because the way I didn't like him. That 8's a myth, though. We'll never get an 8 again. But the rest of the team, just awful.
I mean, in fairness to Ebbe Sand, he's got 3 goals and assists already this season.
I want to do something nice. Like, I want to send Rob flowers in the post, but also like a bag of shit for his Spartak save. Like, is that possible to have 2 sides of the same coin? Of how can you admire one person's comedy and humour and work ethic? Obviously, being a chef, that's a tough job. All serious respect to Rob for doing that. But then also absolutely despise what he does as a pastime in terms of picking this team.
We move on to the main event of the evening. It is Fulchester versus Bostock. Let's have a look at your opponents first. This is what Scott's come up with. Shades of Astor this in terms of the unbalanced lining up of players and where the arrows are. When you look at this, what's the first thing that springs to mind?
I think the first thing Scott's doing here actually is actually very, very clever, and he's getting Jackson Ortega sat in that position of where I've played Nicky Butt. Mm-hmm. So Nicky Butt obviously can't manage the pair of them, so he's only going to pick up one. The other one will bomb on. If he picks up Jacques, Ortega bombs on, and I think the left-sided centre-half might not, so Yepes might not pick him up. If Gonzalez then bombs on as well, is Bizcan going to pick him up, whatever? So I think the idea of perhaps overloading that DMC area and seeing if Butt and Bizcan can cope is a very interesting one. Bowie in central midfield then is probably left in a one-on-one battle with Veron, which, to be honest, you'd probably expect him to at least make a good fist of.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of the team, the only thing that surprises me is the fact that Ashley Lyth and Salilou Lasisi are performing so admirably at the back, and Andre is still somehow a Super League keeper, because prior to Scott playing him, I'd never heard of him, to be honest. Same with David Collins. I must admit, I've learned so much about the game in the past couple of years, and players I'd never heard of until all the other Super League managers started playing these guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I get what Scott's trying to do. He's trying to overload that DMC, which, let's be honest, is probably my strongest part of the team, and see if he can just get around it. So yeah, strong lineup. I expect Scott to give as good as he gets tonight. But with me being at home, I should probably back myself, shouldn't I?
Well, just before we click on to... Oh, hang on. Scott's saying...
Did you get my instructions over the message, by the way?
I believe so, but we will check it in just a second. I need to check Scott's because he's saying the bench is wrong, but I'm sure I checked this. 1 second.
No worries.
Just while I do check this, I know you said earlier you can't see the comments, so Rob has replied back on one of the things you particularly said, and just said that Ebby Sand, along with him, simply do not care about your opinion.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't care. I don't care either.
So according to the picture I've got, it says that the subs should be Tristan, Decor, Sylvestre, and Aleph Rapou, which is what this says.
You've picked Trezeguet.
Oh,
Decor.
yeah, of course, yeah. Good spot. Is that better, Scott? Bench is wrong, please amend. Scott, if you can just confirm that you're happy with that change now. Easily done, they both start with T. But good that Scott's paying attention to what's going on to point these things out before I click continue.
Yeah, I hope Rob knows, though, that I do genuinely have admiration and respect for him as a person. I just don't like his actual Champman team, that's all. And it probably comes from a place of bitterness and self-loathing, in that all my heaviest defeats in Super League have come at the hands of Rob because I've not paid him enough respect previously. And that's what it is. It's, something that you'd normally pay £80 an hour for with a psychotherapist, but I've just given you for free.
So you've had a couple of players absent through injury and tiredness, etc. So it was Balde's coming to centre-back and Biscan's coming to hold in midfield, with Cruz taking the place on the bench.
Yes, Prutton was tired. Valgarin was suspended. So than that, I think this is arguably my strongest 11, despite the formation. Somebody might disagree, but here we go. This has done all right the last couple of games. So we go again.
Now, every time, or it seems every week at the minute, whenever Fulchester games come on, I always highlight just how good Nicky Butt has been. And I know everyone's bored, but it's not every week I actually get you on to say why he's pulling out these numbers. What is it you're doing differently with him that perhaps other people haven't done in the past? Because although everyone recognises Nicky Butt is a good player, you've definitely in this incarnation made him a Super League great.
If you go to his stats, obviously I can't give too much away.
Yep.
But I've just got him doing
what he does,
what he can do best. Right. Mm-hmm. So if you look at his determination, positioning, bravery, tackling, and teamwork, and work rate, his job is to run around and fucking kick people, right? That is what he is world class at. He reads danger, good, does this, that, and the other. So he said, it's not quite how I'm going to word it. It's not quite a free role in defensive midfield. Obviously, he's got some very specific instructions, but those very specific instructions align with his best statistical attributes. So it's basically that. That's all I've done. I think I've said it before when I've been on comms, but I try more often than not to take a bit of a money ball approach and go off, statistics and this, that, and the other, almost like a more alcoholic version of Dan Megahorse. Unless I'm playing Sloss, then I just throw caution to the wind and end up like a Mercedes-Benz in a 1997 Paris tunnel. But generally, yeah. I mean, I've got people of the strongest stats they have within their sort of suite of attributes. I get them doing the job that align best to those stats. And in all honesty, what I actually try and do is win the game with 2 or 3 players rather than an entire team, if that makes sense.
And going into this one, we can click the table again because we haven't, all the other results haven't taken effect on this image. You're a point behind Bostock. You said earlier you're on course for your best league table finish. You must be looking at this thinking there's a good chance here that, especially now knowing Burns' result as well, you can gate crash this top 2 that a lot of people have said was nailed on for a while.
It all depends. It all depends on the result tonight. If Bostock win or draw tonight, I think 3rd's probably the best I can hope for, because I can't see them boys dropping points. And you know what? The more I have looked at the last few weeks' shows and that kind of stuff, I think Bostock might win the entire thing. Okay. Although I did say to Ryan at dinner today, if I win tonight comfortably, I'm winning the whole fucking thing. It's over. It's done. If I win tonight.
Are you one of these that doesn't want to predict their own game, or have you got the confidence to say what you think the score will be now you've seen both teams?
I've now seen both teams. I think I'm hoping this will be a bit of an entertaining game and could be something like 3-2 Fulchester.
Okay, let's kick off and see if we get the goals that your prediction's promising.
3-0 Bostock. Broken laptop. Oh no, actually no, I need to keep my laptop. I've got work tomorrow. I don't know what else can I break. I've got a lamp nearby. That'll work.
Well, Bostock have taken the lead, and it is Nicholas Anelka. And Fulchester have equalised. It's Michael Owen, the man you were referring to earlier, been given a bit more trust, a bit more responsibility this year, and certainly paying you back with some important goals. It has been fairly entertaining, it looks, at least by the text. Will we get another goal? No, we've gone to half time. I thought it looked like there was a few more chances from both sides than that, but 1-1 at half time. You quite content at this stage?
Yeah, again, pretty even game. In terms of shots on target, I've only had 1 more. I've won more tackles, obviously, because I've got Nicky Butt and Bishkan in midfield. So I feel like I'm winning slight battles around the pitch, but overall, I think 1-1's a fair half-time result. Hopefully, I can go on and win the game now. But you can never rule Bostock out.
Steve pointing out in the comments for you that empty Peroni bottles break well.
They do, but my son's also in bed, so I don't want to wake him up.
I've gone to the Bostock stats first because you're seeing the live pictures, so this gives Scott a chance to react before we click over to yours. Looking at their ratings, you seem, or prior to seeing yours, it looks like you're doing a decent job on that midfield battle that you were referring to at the start.
Yeah, I'm surprised Lee Bowie and Gonzalez are on 6s, and Carlos Jacques, actually. But again, Bostock are well in the game, and they've not even hit top gear yet. I imagine if we go to my stats now, I have a few 8s and whatnot. Kicks on a 9, Ronaldo on a 6.
Scott going as is.
Substitutions, all right. All right, he's going as is. Nicky Butt's on a 6. That's interesting. What do I want to do? I mean, Ronaldo's flattered to deceive this year, hasn't he? Big time. Can I try? No, do you know what? Actually, I'll keep as is. I feel like Ronaldo might do something. Yeah, Ronaldo might do something.
Okay.
Go on, we'll go as is.
Well, both teams going as is. Jens saying this is top level CM football.
Fucking Ronaldo on goal.
And it's Michael Owen again. It's 2-1. Anelka with a chance. Jacques with a chance. Certainly not over, but and it's penalty. And Andre's been sent off. What an opportunity this is for Fulchester.
You say this, I don't think I've picked my penalty takers, so it's probably going to be something like up steps Gianluigi Buffon. Oh, Christ.
Are you expecting Ortega or Jacques to come off for the goalkeeper?
I'd probably go Ortega and maybe shift Jacques to the right, but I don't know what Scott will do. He's got options here, hasn't he? You're allowed to tweak it slightly if your man gets sent off.
Well, he can't be moving too many players around, but yes, he can, like, for example, swap Ortega and move Jacques out wide and stuff, yes.
Well, he's definitely got to bring
Ortega off, Jacques to the right, not central. So we're going like that and like that. I'll tell you what, I think you've nailed every single substitution today.
Well, at least I've nailed something because I think I've only got one result right. How the fuck have I got Michael Owen scoring goals and not Ronaldo? It's odd.
Just slowing it down for the penalty. It's Veron.
Saved!
That should.
I get him!
That
you say surely that
the
settles
game
it.
up.
This is where Anelka has another one.
And we're coming towards the end of the game. Bostock are coming forward looking for a goal.
Did I predict 3-2?
Wow.
Come on, lads. There you go, 3-2.
3-2. You have got
Final
the
whistle,
result right. You predicted drama to end, and drama is what we got.
That'll do. 16,757 prawn sandwiches. Absolutely love it. Yeah, John, very good game. Commiserations to Scott. I think that the keeper sending off probably made the game peter out a little bit, but other than that, fantastic game. I think home advantage has just edged it for me slightly.
I mean, you look at those ratings from Bostock.
Yeah, everything bar Andre is bang on in it, right? And you sort of feel for Scott there a bit. I mean, again, you would not change a thing for the last few games, and just assume that I'm going to drop points at some point.
Well, I mean, as a veteran of the playoffs now, I'm just watching the comments pop up as you're talking there. Tato has said would love to see that one over 2 legs in the playoffs. How would you feel about playing Bostock over 2 legs in the playoffs?
I feel like I already have, maybe more than once.
Are you still unbeaten in 90 minutes in the playoffs? Is this you?
Yeah. What I mean, as Fulchester or as just forever?
Yeah, I'm going to say as Fulchester.
Oh, it's Fulchester, yes. The only person to beat me in 90 minutes in any legged tie was Hodgie in my first season. I think he beat me something like 3-2 at home, and then I beat him 3-1 away, something like that, or whatever it was. And that's the only actual loss within 90 minutes in any form of playoff game I've ever had.
Well, just click it over to your stats there. Equally impressive. Bishkan getting a 9, Butt went up to a 7. Giggs maintained his 9. Michael Owen with his 2 goals getting an 8. Almost a perfect performance from you, that. I mean, yes, you conceded 2, but it was to one of the top sides in the league. You've picked up 3 points. You're now in the top 2 yourself.
Yeah, feeling quietly confident. I think that the trip to the Temple has served me well. I don't want to get too ahead of myself. I know I was full of hubris earlier, saying I might win the whole fucking thing, but picking up the point at Burn and now beating Bostock has really, really, really sort of raised morale in the Mac household at the minute. So who knows?
Well, let's just have a review of how that's affected things. So we've got a nice... so Burn currently top, 2 points behind are yourselves, a further 2 points behind Bostock, a further 2 points behind Leicester. So everyone is within a win of each other still in those sort of top 4 spaces. Devils only a point behind Leddersford, only 3 points behind Bostock. Sloths on 33 make up the top 6. Loco and Gazelles, they're 3 points behind. Asta 5 points. Are Asta still in the mix, or are we saying that's where the break is?
Depends who their fixtures are. If they play
some of those top 6,
if they play 2 of the top 8, then yeah, they're absolutely in the mix. If they don't, then I would say not really, potentially.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what.
It all depends on the fixtures.
Right, let's do a couple of admin bits first. So Jens missed his game despite driving like a madman. So let's just show him. These were his match stats. Obviously, you can see the result in big colours. And these were his player ratings. Crespo doing the damage. We pointed out Sol Campbell as well for praise. So hopefully that pleases you, Jens. We've now got 4 games to go. So let's have a quick flick through. So Asta have got... We'll talk about Asta. They've got Dragons.
Right, so that's where they now need favours from the likes of... Sorry, just go back a week, Fifey, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Right, so Asta need favours from, I guess, myself and Leddersford and
well, really, they're looking at Leddersford. Are they looking at Leddersford Sloth saying Leddersford need to win, or would they take a point from that game because it's 2 of the 3 lower ranked teams at that point?
No, I mean, if you're Tato, you're probably looking and thinking, right, forget any. Well, you need Dudley Hill to beat Loco You need Gazelle to lose to Burn ideally, and then you want Ledesford and myself to pick up away wins, which is going to be quite difficult against two very good teams in terms of Sloths and Devils.
And to equal standing there, so Astor are playing Dragons, Loco are playing Dudley. So realistically, you're saying they should both win those games because they're playing teams who don't really have anything to play for.
In theory, yeah. In theory.
On the flip side, Gazelles who are equally chasing the top 6 play Burn.
Yeah.
And obviously, they're now being significantly challenged for a top 2 spot because just because Bostock lost today, they're still only a couple of points away. You're now only 2 points behind. So Burn have a lot of work to do. And after basically throwing it away last season, Ian will not want to replicate that this year, will he?
No, absolutely not. Ian should be feeling pretty confident. I still think he's got enough in the tank to go the whole way, but he'll want to make sure he avoids playing as many games as possible in the playoffs. So that'll be a massive, massive game for him.
And then Tato, who is one of those managers who I think is, since he's come in, has been a real study of virtually everything, has pointed out we do not play anyone in the top 6. His next game is away to second place Fulchester.
Yeah, sorry, mate. I'm dicking you there. Although, actually, so that'll be...
So in theory,
potentially be a Wednesday game.
Yeah,
that'll
in
be next
theory,
Sunday.
this is Wednesday's
we should do that in the pub.
In theory, this is Wednesday's fixtures. This will be next Sunday that you play.
Right, so Slothsburn, that's a barnstormer. Boston Haggis is a big game as well, I think. Gazelles, Dudders, Hools, Devils. Yeah, so, I mean, at this point, Gazelles are looking for favours from Hools and Dragons and whatnot. And Burn, yeah.
Sloths.
And then, I don't know, that's a bit harsh on Astor to be playing me next week or in 2 games' time, because I could end up doing big favours for somebody there if I beat Astor.
Penultimate round of the regular season sees Bostock host Loco. That could be big. Scrolling through, Burn host Ledesford. They're the 2 standout fixtures at this point.
Haggis Gazelles there for me.
Yeah, Haggis was saying are out of it now, and Gazelles, they need to have picked up at least 4, if not 6 points from the 2 games before this one for this game to matter.
Yeah, exactly that, which is why I think that game could be big, depending on the previous outcomes. And then other than that, you would expect Burn Ledesford could be good, actually. Ledesford could be in the mix for perhaps even a top 2. You never know.
I mean, equally, if we're looking at Haggis Gazelles as well, Astor, who we were talking about, they host Halls in this game. Halls have just won, so maybe they're going to have an end-of-season turn of form, so that could be a tricky game for Astor as well if they're still in the mix.
Yeah, absolutely. That's not going to be... I mean, saying that, though, can you imagine Tato absolutely buoyant if he's took 6 points from the 2 games at this point? He will be absolutely buzzing. So that could be an absolute barnstormer as well.
It's pointing out that your fixtures look decent, so let's just refresh specifically on yourself. So away to Devils, home to Astor, away to Dragons, and then on the final game of the season, you are at home to Ledesford. I think that's a tough run in.
Do you know what? Right, there's no such thing as an easy running in this league, is there?
No, really? Well, of course, no.
Everyone can beat each other. But given that I'm only playing 2 of the current top 6 in the last 4 games and not needing that many points to ensure a playoff place is probably quite a blessing.
But surely you're looking more than that now. Surely.
You what? Sorry.
Surely you're looking more than just a playoff place. Surely it is. You're second with 4 games to go. You've got to be looking at that top 2 finish.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I'm not going to. I mean, bear in mind, Fifey, right? The last few years I've squeaked into 6th on fucking amount of fans, average attendance at a game. You know, that's how tight it's been. So I'm not going to shed any tears if I miss out on that top 2, because do I back myself in all the playoff games? Absolutely. So I'm not too bothered. Knowing that I probably only need maybe 3 points from a final 4 games is quite comforting. Mm-hmm. So top 2 would be nice. Yeah, don't get me wrong. 3rd or 4th would be okay. But as long as I'm not squeaking in on the last minute of the last game again, fine. That's an improvement.
Dan pointing out in the comments that they play the current top 2 in their final 2 games.
Who do? Sorry, Leddersford. And how many points are they on now?
So if we go back to the actual table, they are on 35. So they're 5 points clear of Loco and Gazelles.
I think Devils and do Devils and Sloss not play?
So Devils play you.
All right.
And then they are away to Halls. Then they host Churchtown, and then they are away to Loco.
That's a dirty run-in, isn't it? Well, Odgie's not bothered. He doesn't even care for the game.
Leddersford, they travel to Sloths in 6th. That's a massive game, as we've already said.
That is big.
Then they host Dragons before they must put. Where's Burn?
Away to Burn.
They must be playing Burn. Yeah, away to Burn, and then home to Burn. Sorry. No, away to Burn. They're 2 away games as well. Away to Burn and then away to Fulchester. Now that Leddersford of what we've looked at there, Leddersford have it toughest in my opinion.
Yeah, they do. But again, I think they probably only need 4 points, and they'll be fine.
Jens is backing you to get 7 or 9 or maybe even 10 out of the last 12.
That's a bold statement.
And then backs that up by saying that he's never beat Devils. Steve saying records are there to be broken. Listen, Macca, I've had a really enjoyable evening with you on Co-Coms. Thank you very much for coming on.
No, me too, mate. Thank you for hosting.
Very much appreciate it. And it's nice having not only someone who is consistently in the top 6 in the table, but definitely one of the top 6 most charismatic managers and top 6 best looking managers in Super League history.
I'm blushing. I'm blushing.
And as you know, as I'm not currently managing a team, I'm not going to follow all these compliments up with a DM about Veron either. But I hope, again, thanks everyone for joining. Apologies again for the slight delay. These things can't be helped sometimes. But I hope you've enjoyed this Halloween special. It's certainly been a treat for me. I hope it has been for you. I'm presuming Ryan will be back Wednesday. Hopefully everything will be in place for him then. So from me, until next week at Super League HQ, good night.
Good night, all.